This is E-Commerce Uncensored. Brought to you by Fast Forward. We're coming to you fully loaded and exposed with all the strategies and techniques for growing your e-commerce business.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 168. My name is Kevin Mcdonald, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Today we got another pretty interesting interview that happened.
You guys should enjoy his voice now, because this is the last time you will be hearing it. We had some technical issues with Kevin's internet.
Yeah, it was like I was really delayed, so every time I would speak, they wouldn't hear it for like 15 seconds after I said it. So
and that's a lot of time when you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were answering questions that John and I were like, huh? We're way past that.
Yeah, the guy's name is Jon MacDonald. He's got an agency that does website conversion optimization. And when we first heard from him, you'll hear us talk about it on the podcast. But sometimes we're a little bit hesitant to get other agencies on the line. But we've just come to the fact that we want to bring as much value as we can, and we thought that this guy kind of knew what he was talking about, and he really did. So I think you guys would really enjoy it.
Yeah, and the truth is, we've gotten away from that side of things. We do a lot more paid stuff, a lot more, and I don't really. There's really no threat, with someone like him. So, plus we want to bring you guys the best information we can give you. And it was a really interesting conversation that I had with him.
Yeah, it was quite interesting listening. It went really well.
But before we get into it, Kev.
Yeah, we got to talk about Klaviyo.
And by the way, he uses Klaviyo too.
Yeah, he mentioned Klaviyo in the middle of the interview really briefly, and he said, he's like, email will always be your number one revenue generator.
He did say that.
He did. So you got to totally check out Klaviyo. They have a free introductory. I don't even know what to call it. I never know what to call it. It's like a free plan.
It's a free trial. It's a free
trial, but it's not. You get full access to everything. It's like there's no levels of access basically. I think you're only limited to the amount of emails you can send during that
and
trial
the amount of subscribers you can bring in. But I'll tell you what, man, Kev, we're getting so many people in our group talking about Klaviyo. We're getting everybody we're talking to is using Klaviyo. If you're not using them, I say all the time, something wrong with you. It makes us every month almost, I don't know, maybe like $40,000, $50,000 a month. It makes our personal brand.
It's like 40% of our revenue.
Yeah.
Our total revenue month over month.
It's crazy.
And that's where you should be, 30 to 40%. If you're not, you should be using a program like or a software like Klaviyo, because I could spend all day in there, just like tooling around
and send all day.
And send and spend all day. Good one, right. Jason. Very well done.
See that?
Creating segments, now you got SMS in there, which is really awesome. I keep getting emails all day on training for SMS. So that's becoming a real big part of what they're doing. So you got to go to klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored. And they got that free plan for you to sign up for. And then the other part of this is checking into your fulfillment center and your shipping costs.
The 3PL.
3PL. And a really great place to go get some help with that, get all your systems worked out, because right now might be a perfect time for you to kind of reevaluate where you guys are with that. And they have Rakuten Super Logistics has a special promotion for you guys. If you go over to ecommerceuncensored.com/RSL and use promo code uncensored on that landing page when you sign up, they will ask you for some of your shipping costs and some of your fulfillment expenses, and they guarantee that they will beat your costs, or they'll just write you a check for $500. So that's one of those risk-free offers that you got to take advantage of. And they're not like a new guy on the block either. They've been around for a long time. They got 15 warehouses.
Right, so you'll be basically like Amazon, shipping from all over the country. Your customers will get their packages fast.
Yeah, they're a great team over there. They got all kinds of integrations with the major marketplaces in the shopping carts and everything. So go check them out. That's ecommerceuncensored.com/RSL, promo code uncensored.
Right. And now, Don't forget, Kev, about our Facebook ads course. If you go to
Right.
ecommerceuncensored.com/truth, you can sign up for our beta group, or you can sign up for our email list, and then we'll send you an email about our beta group, and you can get a big, huge discount. I'm sending out videos as I record them, getting feedback from everybody, and people are telling me what they want to see and how they like the videos changed or added, and you can be part of that. Yeah, I mean, it's been a nice success. It's been a big success. We're getting people signing up every day. I don't know how long the beta group's going to go, but if you want to get in on it before it ends, you're going to get the course at like a third of what I'm going to charge once we launch it.
Cool.
And you're going to get the same stuff.
What's that URL again?
ecommerceuncensored.com/truth.
Cool. And without further ado, here's our interview with Jon MacDonald of The Good. Hey, Jon, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So why don't you first just give us a little bit of background, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and president of The Good. We are a conversion rate optimization firm. So we help brands to convert more of their e-commerce visitors into buyers using data science.
So data science, huh? That's
interesting.
Yeah. How do you collect your data? Like, what? Give us a little bit of information about that stuff too.
Yeah, so we help brands to track every click and movement that's happening on their site. Now, we do that in an aggregate fashion, so there's no privacy concerns, right? But we're looking at things like heat maps, click maps, scroll maps, of course, analytics, deep diving into analytics, making sure that we understand where people are dropping off in the funnel, and then use all of that data to form hypothesis around why people are taking those actions, or sometimes even better, not taking the actions you want them to take. And then we use A/B tests or multivariate testing to prove out those hypotheses and form permanent and sustainable growth through looking at things like conversion rates, average order value, and various metrics like that.
See, that's pretty interesting to me because back in the, I don't know, I don't even know when it is, but when it was, maybe like 10 years ago-ish, when conversion rate optimization was like a thing. I used to be a conversion rate optimization specialist. And then, when the whole, different color button thing and the whole, that kind of thing kind of went away. And it's interesting to me because like that kind of left, and it's interesting that you have such a successful agency doing this when that's kind of, from my perspective, kind of gone, right? Like it's not the same as it used to be. You're using different metrics, you're using different tools, you're using different things that actually allow you to do this. But that conversion rate optimization thing is not as much of a buzzword as it used to be.
Yeah. I actually am seeing a little bit of the opposite on that. I've seen a commoditization of the word, right?
Okay.
That's happened over the last couple of years where, there's every digital agency, every development agency is listing it as a bullet point on their site now. And it's because, as you said, it has over the last 10 years really become a term that people know. And when we started doing this, there was, we've been in business 11 years now. And when we started, nobody knew what conversion optimization was. And we didn't even call it that. I don't even know that the term was really used until a couple of years after we started. And we called it continual optimization because that's really what it is, if you think about it. But now there's this kind of love with that metric of just conversions, right? But there's so much more to this industry. And I think that's where we've been able to really blossom. And I think a lot of the experts in this industry really don't put a singular focus on just conversions. And I think that's the problem with this name.
Yeah, so I don't know how much you know about us, but Kevin and I have a digital agency as well. And when we first saw your email, normally we look at another agency coming on our podcast as a competitor. However, over the last year, Kevin and I have taken a business from literally zero to, we're going to do multi-million dollars this 12-year kind of
Mhm.
process span, right? So a lot of, we still have the agency. The agency is still a big part of our business, but we're not looking at people like you any longer as competitors. We're looking at people like you as like, okay, how can they add to the conversation? How can we
Mhm.
get people like you to come at it from a different angle than we are? Because, we watched, as you said, we watched your video and on your talk, and, you're so right. It's like, our clients are so obsessed with, optimizing a landing page. And I'm always like saying to them, like, the conversion kind of happens before that, you just have to be set up
Mhm.
when they get there to kind of be ready to buy from you. Right. I mean, that's what we're seeing. I don't know whether it kind of goes with what you're seeing or kind of conflicts with what you're seeing, but for us,
Mm.
that's what we're seeing.
I think, the reality is that as an industry, CRO is moving away from just that one conversion rate to more of a customer journey optimization, right? Which
Right.
is, I think, what you're seeing as well. And it starts with once somebody has an intent. And what I mean by that is they see an ad, or they heard about you through a friend, or they saw you on social. Something led them to your site that has them thinking they can do one of two things on your site. They're there because they want to research your products and understand if there's a good fit and if it can solve their pain or need, right? They have a pain or need. They had some intent for why they're visiting your site, and that's why they're there. You need to be able to provide them with that information. Secondly, after they do that research, they want to convert as quickly and easily as possible. The problem with this is that most brands still continue to market at consumers once they reach the site. A landing page should not continue to market to them. A landing page should help them to really understand whether or not it's a good fit and help them reach that mutually agreeable decision of there's a great fit here. Your product is going to solve my pain or need, and then you need to aid them in converting as quickly and easily as possible. Anything outside of those two tasks on your site is really not going to be beneficial and is not going to help them become a customer.
All right. I don't know if there's still a delay, but I was saying that that was interesting because I've never heard it being positioned that way. Like even us, like, and this is one thing that's interesting because, like, even having, building successful brands and building successful businesses, right? Like, everybody has a different take on what the landing page should be. And to be honest with you, what you just said is pretty interesting to me, because I think that we kind of fall into that as well, where we try to continue marketing to people when they get to the landing page. And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and it's something that we should probably think about a little bit as well, because I think we definitely get caught up in that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of brands do. You're not alone in that. I think most consumer brands do. The reality here is that a landing page is really just to help people push further down the funnel. So many people have a landing page that they just want somebody to convert on. And I really prefer, and our team here really prefers to look at landing pages as just that first step. The job of the landing page is to resonate with the person's intent from when they visit via an ad or social or whoever they got there. It should mirror the messaging so they know they're in the right place, and then it should aid them along in the journey. So many people put up landing pages that have no navigation. They don't want people to move on from those pages, and they want to convert them in this like mile long page that at the bottom has a couple conversion points, and they want them to get all the way down there. The reality is just let consumers navigate on your site. And if your site is set up appropriately, then it's going to give them a lot more information, and they should convert at a higher rate than just trying to trap people on that singular page.
So John, okay, this is interesting to me, because one of the things that I've learned doing this podcast and dealing with clients and such is that not all situations are the same. And when I say that, why I say that is because there are inherently markets that are much hotter than other markets. And
Mm.
So why I say that is that when we're running paid advertising, right now, the business that I told you about that's going to do multi-million dollars this year, it's a very hot industry. And we've found that these people not only have money, but they convert very fast. So right now we're spending almost $3,000 a day of our own money pushing Facebook ads to a landing page. And we're seeing conversion rates between, let's say, like 1% and 2%. Now, are you, with your clients, are you seeing higher conversion rates than 1% to 2% on paid ads? Because we all know that's different than organic.
Right. And it is different than organic, but also I get this question multiple times a day. What is a good conversion rate? And the reality here is that a good conversion rate is one that is always improving. To compare yourself to an industry standard of some sort, which I wouldn't even know how they get that standard. The reality is that, most brands aren't sharing their conversion rates. You can look at different aggregate sources like Klaviyo has the email marketing tool, has some great conversion information up and some real-time information segmented by data in terms of, by segment of what the products they're selling are. There's a lot of different data points out there, but the reality is that it doesn't do you any good to compare yourself to others, because you really just need to focus on improving your own conversion rate. And the only way to do that is to worry about the clicks and movements that are happening on your site. So, I get that question a lot. What's a good average conversion rate? Is my conversion rate good? And it's almost always needs to be the same answer, which is focus on improving your own conversion rate and making sure you're paying attention to your consumer data. That's going to be what's sustainable for you. And that's truly what's going to be moving the needle for you over time.
Yeah. That's easier said than done. Obviously, when you're dealing with people that are paying you, right? Like we have a client right now who's probably listening to this. Her name is Kim. And, we get emails from her, and actually even our partner for our other business, we get emails and they're like, our conversion rate sucks. It's 0.8%. And I have to say, like all the time, it's like, number one, you're sending cold traffic to a landing page, right? Like they don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They've never seen you before. It's the first time that they're checking you out. That's normal. That's why you have retargeting, and that's why you have email, marketing. It's why you have all these other channels that you're doing these things on, because, when they see you the first time, it's not necessarily going to be like, hey, I can't wait for you to take my money. So it is something we struggle with. But that being said, we deal with some big brands as well. And we find these bigger brands actually have way worse conversion rates. And people think like these big guys have like these great conversion rates. It's actually the other way around. They just have so much traffic that even a smaller conversion rate or a lower conversion rate is producing bigger numbers.
Well, I think there's two correlations here. The first is that the higher your price point, generally, the lower your conversion rate is going to be, right? We've worked with a high-end boat company that sells, $150,000, $200,000 custom-built boats. And the reality is your conversion rate is going to be a little less because not everyone, A, can afford that boat, and B, it might be an aspirational purchase, and C, they want to get on and just play around and configure their dream boat. And then one day, hopefully, they can buy it. But not everyone is going to be able to afford it right on the spot. And then secondly, is that the more traffic you have, you're likely going to have a little bit lower conversion rate, especially as these big brands you're talking about start spending gobs of money to drive traffic. The problem is eventually on paid traffic channels, the more traffic you're spending to get, the less qualified that traffic's going to be. Right. So if you think about it, you're no longer going after people just searching for your product names, your brand, et cetera. You're now reaching out on paid ads to try to reach people who are, searching for more generic terms, who, may click on your ad and it's not exactly what they're looking for. So
that's a good. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, so you're probably gonna see that where, and we do see it with our customers, where conversion rates on higher traffic sites are generally less. Now, it doesn't mean you can't move the needle, right? But a fraction of an improvement in conversion rate really can make a difference on large traffic sites.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is a couple things. Number one, we all hear this buzzword or whatever the hell you want to call it, like scale. I gotta scale my business, scale, everything, scale my Facebook ads, scale. Everything is scale, right? But you're not gonna get to scale with ads. You're not gonna get there with, highly targeted traffic. There's only going to be a certain amount of people that are highly targeted. And then after that, you got to start branching out, exactly like you're saying. So you're not going to get those high conversion rates when you're scaled. It's just not going to happen. And we're going through that right now where, we're spending between $25,000 and $3,000 a day, as I said, and we're finding it increasingly more difficult to scale up from here with just that one landing page. We're constantly thinking about, okay, and that's only 3,000 a day. I mean, there's brands doing 10,000 a day, right?
Oh,
so
easily, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even more. I heard somebody doing $100,000 a day. So, when you're at those numbers, you're going to oversaturate things pretty quickly. That that journey is going to take a little bit longer. And you're going to have to come up with different ways to get people in your funnel because, there's not an infinite amount of people, right?
Without question. And I think that's where on-site experience really comes in, because you've paid all this money to get these folks to your site. Now you need to help them do those two tasks I talked about earlier, which is, make sure that they can do their research to see if your product's going to solve that pain or need, and then to convert and buy. And I think, most brands really focus on the traffic side and then neglect the consumer experience once people get there, or at the very least, they focus on it, but they're so close to the product and so close to the site that they're really not objective. I say this a lot, but it's really true. It's really hard to read the label from inside the jar. If you're an e-com manager, for instance, and your product line, the categories, the product details, the navigation and how to get around your site. So it all makes sense to you. But a new to file customer who just came in off that paid ad and has never really heard of you before they saw that ad, what's the experience for them? It's going to be vastly different than it is for somebody who is in the jar, if you will. And so you really need to get that outside perspective, and that's where optimization comes in.
Right. And not only that, it's also going to change the kind of things that you have on your page. Like because you're so close to it, you're so attached to the gadgety side of it. Let's say you have a physical product, like one of our clients has, like this thing called a Rev Air, and it's a brand new product that they actually invented. And, at first they were talking a lot about the different parts of the product, right? But I don't really care what the heating element is or what the, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's when you're inside, like you're saying, you tend to think the things that are important, like the things that are important to you are not necessarily the things that are important to your customer. And I see a lot of that going on too.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Now, John, what give me, because, one thing that I've, or Kevin and I both have learned is that, it's not the same for everybody. And what works with one may not work for the other. Nobody knows exactly what's going to work. I mean, we all as marketers want to pretend that we are all knowing and, we know everything. And then when you have some success, everybody just thinks that like now what the quote unquote secret is or the secret sauce is. But why don't you give us some things that, well, first of all, do you agree with that statement? And second of all, if you do, or if you don't, why don't you give us some things that, our listeners can do to find that secret? Because that's where I think the secret really lies, is like knowing how to find it.
I think you're exactly right. It's knowing how to understand the clicks and movements that are happening on your site. Look, the data collection tools now are cheap and easy and readily available. Google Analytics free, Hotjar like $10 a month, $20 a month to get heat maps, click maps, scroll maps, session tracking, all of that data. You can do user testing over Zoom for net free right now. I mean, you could easily just find somebody online in a user group that is aligns with your ideal customer profile, ask them to walk through your site while you're recording their desktops and they're sharing their screen on Zoom, and you just ask them to complete a task like find the best t-shirt for you, and then just be quiet and let them talk out loud about what they're thinking as they go through that process. You will learn so much. All of these tools are free, readily available, and take very little time to execute on. The biggest differentiator is the brands that are actually paying attention to that data and making decisions based on it. And what that does in terms of answering your question is that there is no list of best practices. Best practices, in my view, are really for beginners who really have very little traffic, just starting out, and want a checklist of what to implement on their site. And I would say, on those best practice lists, that the reality is, if your site theme doesn't have that built in, if you're on Shopify, if you are not actually implementing those items, then just go take care of them. Don't test them, right? And then there's a whole bunch of items out there in conversion optimization that people look at, like button colors or things of that sort, that the reality is those aren't going to move the needle, right? And it really just need to talk to your consumers, understand what they're doing on your site, and use that to inform where their challenge points are. Once you know what those challenge points are on your site, you can easily start attacking those and forming hypotheses around why those challenges exist. And so that's going to be the best methodology, is to just start trying to track every click and movement that's happening on your site, and use that data to provide a better consumer experience, a consumer journey.
Yeah, I've never understood the button color thing. I've never seen any sort of lift, nor have I ever purchased something and said, "Oh my God, I like this color better," or felt like I bought because of the color of the button. I mean, I'd never understood that, quite frankly. And the truth of the matter is, like you said, I don't think those kind of things move the needle. But one example that I like to use that's kind of parallel to this is that um like I like to see the customer service questions coming in to whatever site I'm using or whatever client I'm working with. And I like to hear where they're having problems. And then what I'll do is, like, I'll fix that problem. So for example, people were writing us about, for our personal brand, they're writing us a lot about not being able to download this particular ebook that we had. And it wasn't like everybody. We were getting like 600-700 people downloading it a day, but there was just like this segment of people. I don't know if it was their browser. I don't know what it was, but we were getting it enough. It was just driving me crazy. So I just changed out the tool that I was using to collect their emails, like the form, and now I don't get those emails anymore. I kind of look at conversion like that. It's like trying to find where your people are having problems and then fix it before it becomes a problem, right? Like change it so that it's no longer a barrier for them to go to the next stage.
Yeah, and you made a good point there too, which is you could just ask customer service. And that's a big part of the research we do. I mean, there's on-site tracking, as I've mentioned, and doing user testing, but who's on the front lines? We'll often interview customer service teams and ask them, what are the top 10 questions you get around the website? And, we worked with Easton Baseball, which is a producer of aluminum baseball bats. They do, I think, probably 99% of college baseball swings they're done with theirs. They're a major sponsor of Little League World Series, things of that sort. And, we started working with them, and if you just go to their website, it was just a wall of bats. There were, and I think of a bat in a little preview image, when it's just a grid of these, you have no idea what the difference is besides the color, perhaps, right? Especially if you're a parent with a new kid in Little League who, if you didn't play baseball growing up, you wouldn't know that where the weight is in the bat makes a difference, or, the thickness of the bat, etc., right? You just don't know. And so all these parents were calling into customer service and saying, my little league coach for my son's team said I need to have this type of certified bat, because each of these leagues and divisions all have different certifications, and if your bat isn't stamped with that certification, then umpire is not supposed to let you swing it. So all these parents were buying bats on the website because they didn't know the difference, and showing up with their kid at the game, and the umpire wouldn't let them swing with it. So they had a lot of upset parents calling in customer service. And we took that as an opportunity to say, okay, well, why is this happening? The parents knew what certification they needed, but that was all they needed to know, right? So we did a bat finder on the site, and we said, okay, 3 questions. What certification do you need? What type of hitter is your child? Are they swinging for the fences? Are they trying to just get on base? Are they slugger, et cetera, right? And then the third was, do you know what diameter you needed? Because different coaches would make recommendations, we found. And within that, they would narrow it down to 3 or 4 bats that would have a wide range of price points. And so we'd go from 50 bats and a big product page to 3 or 4 choices. And I think doing things like that along the customer journey really helped eliminate calls to customer service and help with conversions, of course, but also the long-term customer satisfaction, because people were coming back and buying second bats because it was so easy compared to the competitors. And so it's a lot of those type of things that people don't think about when they think about optimization. They're worried, like you said, we talked about button colors or all these other things that are inconsequential in the realities.
Yeah, and it's funny because what I'll do is, like, when somebody asks me a question over and over and over, or like not somebody, when people do, I'll then take that, question and I'll answer it on the landing page, because I know it's something that they're thinking about. And I can't tell you, like, for example, one thing that people were asking me, like, on our current website, they're like, well, how do I know this is good? I mean, it sounds good. The landing, your everything you're on here is like sounding really good, but like, how do I know? And I kept getting that over and over and over. I'm like, you know what? Let me go grab some social proof. Took some. One thing about social proof is, like, I don't like fake social proof. So I went to the Facebook, and I took screenshots of actually people saying that it was great. Put that on the landing page. Boom, changed everything. Another thing, I don't know if you're doing this with your clients, but when COVID hit, our sales died. I'm a little bit more, like, I'm obsessive about this stuff, so I'll just stare and, like, try to think about the funnel and the journey and all this other thing, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, our sales are dying, and then I'm like, oh my God, let me just try this, and I put on there, like, we'll donate 10% of our of our profit to COVID relief. Put that on the website. Boom, people started buying again, even more than they did before. So I think a lot of it comes down to paying attention and making adjustments according to what you're hearing and seeing. And I know that doesn't sound like it's difficult, but it's so obvious that we don't do it.
That's the number one problem I see is brands. Oh, every brand has Google Analytics or some tracking installed in their site, right, to get that data. Very few are actually looking at that data, can recognize trend lines. I can't tell you. I was just on a phone call with a decent sized brand before we start recording here. And I asked them, how many visitors are you getting on an average month? They're like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, how do you're tens of $1 million brand and you don't know, and you're running the e-com? Like, what, like, pay attention to the data, at least at that level. So I'm asking them to, dive even deeper into the data. I can't imagine, how they're going to be able to do that if, they can't even give you some high level metrics. So it's really important that not only are you tracking all of this data, but you are paying attention to it on spend an hour a week, right? Just 15 minutes a day, a few days a week, just to see what's happening. You'll start to notice trends. You'll start to be able to understand, you made this change yesterday and here was the result. You'll start to be able to make informed decisions. And I think that's what's going to be key here. Unfortunately, so many brands are not paying attention to the data, and it's really disheartening at times, because there's, honestly, they almost wouldn't have to hire us as much if they would actually just pay attention to their own data.
Well, but that's a good point though, John, because I'll be honest with you, I've been on the agency side for a long time. I've, like most entrepreneurs, have tried things that kind of didn't work, and now that we're on the other side of it, we actually have a brand that's doing, fairly well. I almost rather hire like a firm like yours, so I don't, because I'm trying to deal with other things, right?
Mhm.
And like, now that we have the cash flow, now that we have the money, I almost want to outsource these things because I don't want to be bothered. I want someone who is going to be looking at it. And quite frankly, I don't think it's a bad thing to say, like, look, maybe somebody just does this better than me. Maybe they just understand this a little bit better than me, and it's only going to help me, And so I started to see a little bit of a switch or a shift in the way I'm
Mhm.
kind of thinking, and how, my buddy, like, always said to me, he's an entrepreneur. He's personally worth 40 or 50 million. He's like, I don't want to work for my money anymore. I want my money to work for me. And I'm starting to understand that. I'm starting to understand what he means. And it's just more cost effective for him to pay somebody to worry about it than for him to have to worry about it.
Well, you have to
So
look at the return on investment, right? And I think that's what most people look at last. The return on investment by having somebody come in and do conversion optimization on your site, it's going to be pretty high. If they're good at their job, I mean, we see an average about a 9-to-1 return on investment. So for every dollar that brands spend with us, generally we're returning about $9 in additional revenue. So that's a heck of a return for all marketing activities that you can do. I mean, paid search or any of the other type of marketing to drive traffic is never going to give you that high of a return on that ad spend. You'd be lucky if you get that. So I think, you really need to think about putting that money to work. And it's like, hey, if I give the good $1 and they can give me $9 back, why would I not do this? So I think, that mindset is definitely one I'm seeing more often.
yeah, definitely. Okay, one more thing. I know we had some technical issues today. We still do. That's why you guys don't hear Kevin talking. His internet is slow for some reason. But one topic I want to talk about, because I think that all that we've just spoken about, John, is great, and it's all what we're seeing, and I think everybody kind of sees the same things. But talk about how mobile throws a monkey wrench in this whole thing, because I don't know about you, like, to me, it's a monkey wrench, because when I design a landing page or when I design a website, you no longer have the same room. You no longer have the same flexibility. You have no long, when you're dealing in mobile, and that's where a lot, for the most part, the majority of traffic is going to start, at least, because I know a lot of people start on their phone and then go to their computer when they want to buy something. But tell me how that has changed things in this whole, conversion rate optimization, marketing, I guess.
Well, we definitely look at both platforms, desktop and mobile, and I think to not do that, as you said, would be, it would be malpractice, if you will. I think the reality here is that it doesn't change the core tenets. I think what it does change is that you need to be looking at both sets of data independently. And so if you try to mix desktop and mobile, and you're going to have some really misleading data, and you really need to maintain two data sets on those. In addition to that, though, as you said, the mobile platform is where the vast majority of discovery is happening for consumers. They're going there to do that first task, understand if your product or service can solve their pain or need. And so once they've determined that, yeah, they very well may move over to desktop to actually convert. And this is what we, as you mentioned, what we still see as the trend too, is the vast majority of traffic is coming from mobile, vast majority of conversions is happening on desktop. So it really depends on what part of the customer journey you're trying to optimize for. For that first half of the tasks, we're going to optimize for mobile. The second half, we're generally going to optimize for desktop. right? Checking out on a mobile device is not very fun. Every time I try to order take to go from one of our restaurants that uses a platform, I have to create another account to do any of that. I just hate it. And thank God there's Apple Pay and those type of things that can make it even more simple now. But it's still a pain in the butt to buy something on your phone, unfortunately. And I just like having a physical keyboard to put all of our information in credit card and everything just goes a lot quicker.
The other thing is, I feel like I'm going to miss something on a phone, like that I'm not going to miss on a computer. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's going to be something that I miss. It drives me crazy. So
It's
always
a common concern, and it's because of the screen size.
right.
If you think about it, it's because of the fact that you're afraid that you're not going to have something's going to be off the screen you didn't scroll over to because maybe the site's not optimized for mobile very well, especially checkouts. I mean, those are the worst. Most people don't optimize their checkout for mobile, which is a big mistake. So you're not alone in that feeling.
And one thing though, John, this is like a perfect example, and this is why it's very difficult. And I do it sometimes. I do it a lot. Like, it's very difficult to talk in absolutes, because I think if you talk to Amazon, they'd have a different experience with that, because people know and trust Amazon and they're on there all the time, and buying a $10 widget or a $20 whatever is not that big of a deal buying it in their app, because you're so familiar with Amazon, right? So it's a little bit more comfortable for you. But for someone like, our clients, that may be a completely different thing. So to say, to speak in absolutes is, you just can't do it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can't.
Totally. But I also think, Jason, what the thing that's getting missed in that statement is that we generally consider Amazon its own beast, right? And it should be off to itself over there. Not that you don't want to look at some clues from there, but 99.99% of retailers don't have the resources that Amazon has. Now, think about this. Amazon's mobile app, I buy from that all the time. And you're right, because I trust it. I know I can cancel my order later if I screwed something up, and they make the process easy. But also, they have so many ways to find a product. I can literally put the product that I want to reorder down, take a picture of it in the app, and it will find it in search. I can scan the barcode, right? I can do all of these things that a mobile e-com site generally does not have.
Yeah, absolutely. And they put a lot of time into it. Like, if you look at Amazon, there's nothing nice about their design.
Ugliest site. It's like second ugliest site only behind Craigslist, right?
Right.
But it works.
Right.
Both of them work.
Well, it works. And yeah, so I mean, I was going to plan on asking you, like, what are some of the things that people can look at when they're trying to do to try to bring up that conversion rate. But I think we've kind of been saying, like, look, it's going to be different for everyone. Are there things though that you can give our audience, like things that you would test, just some like a list of things that you like testing that they could that would be useful for them? Everybody knows you need to use the data, and I think that's where a lot of people get scared. But we have a couple minutes here. Can you just tell me, what do you think people should test? Where do you think they should spend their time testing?
Yeah,
kind of,
great question.
That kind of thing.
Okay, so here's the overall mentality, and then I'll get into some specifics. The overall mentality needs to be that if you wouldn't do it in a physical retail store, you should not do it on your website. Now, let's take some examples of that. Email pop-ups, right? As soon as you come to a site, an email pop-up jumps up. It is the most disruptive, annoying thing for consumers. Every consumer will tell you. And there's a couple other negatives we'll get into, but just from the interruption, the physical reaction that your visitors have on the other side of the screen, brands think it's still okay to do it because you can't see that person's reaction on the other side of the screen. But now let's take that into a retail setting. If a sales associate, as I walk into the store, jumps out in front of me with a clipboard and says, "Give me your email address," I'm going to have a pretty negative reaction, right? I'm probably going to turn around and leave the store, maybe even have some type of violent reaction. I don't know, but I certainly am not going to want to shop there, right? And I think that people who have an e-com site don't think about it in that way. So one of the first things we always like to do, because almost every site has an email pop-up now, is test that pop-up, test just not having it, make it an exit intent instead, or bake that email sign-up form into the page content where people who truly want to sign up will do so. And now email is going to be one of the highest revenue channels. Totally understand that. I'm not saying that it's not valuable, but what I am saying is the vast majority of brands that have a pop-up catcher in email also offer a discount in exchange for that email. That creates a couple of other problems. The first is that once a consumer comes in via discount, they are forever a discount customer, and they will forever see your brand as a discount brand. They're never going to want to pay retail again, right? They're going to come back, and next time they come to your site, they're going to see that pop up, and it's going to be for first-time signups only, and they're going to get really frustrated. They're going to go off in search of a coupon code to never return, or they're going to go and sign up and use that junk email that they have just to get the discount, in which case then you've totally muddied up your CRM, because now you have two records for the same person, and that's going to make segmentation a problem. They're also never going to open those emails in that junk email that you are sending to, and then that's just going to hurt your deliverability, and you're going to get put into the promotions and spam folders. There's just not really a lot of good that comes from that beyond catching that initial sale or catching that initial email, I should say. So I think brands don't think about it all the way through of what's that customer experience and what's it really like to that end consumer.
So I have a little bit of a different take on that, John, quite frankly. I think what you're saying all makes sense, but there is another side to this from my perspective, is that there are different, number one, there are different types of stores out there. So, I know from our brand, our personal brand, right? We have daily metrics that we have to hit so that we're not going broke. And then there are long-term metrics that we have to hit so that we're growing. And depending on, for me, as long as I understand that and I know that, I'm okay with doing some of those things that you're talking about, because number one, I clean my email list. So if somebody hasn't opened up an email in, 30 days, 60 days, 80 days, whatever it is, I just get rid of them. That's number one. Number two, I do feel like our clients put pressure on us to make as much money as we can while they're working with us. So, it is a tough thing. We do advocate exit intent. I think that's the best one, not just the one like exactly what you're talking about. Like, I don't like the one that you just get there and like boom, it's just there, because
right.
Exit intent, I think, is the key word there, because exit intent is different, even though it operates in a similar manner, right? It pops up, but it's on an exit. So I do think, again, John, like, I agree with you. I would say that there are some caveats to some of those things, because, when you're not Nike, you're not Amazon, right? Like, you have to hit daily metrics or you'll go broke, right? And so I just wanted to say that, because I just think it's hard. It's just hard for me to say in all cases it's bad, because I do know that, there are times that we use it, like, and there are times that we don't. But I generally agree with what you're saying. So I'm sorry to throw you off there, but I just wanted to add that.
Look, I would rather this is a great debate. I mean, we could do a whole hour just talking about this, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's no hard and fast rule, right? And this goes back to what we were saying about what's a good conversion rate, or what are the tactics that I should just be deploying. It all is situational based on your site visitors, clicks, and movements. If you're converting 100% of the people in that pop-up, then that's the right audience for it, right? Or if you're making tons of cash off of that pop-up, and you're not losing cash because of it, then great, have at it. Our mission at The Good, and my personal mission as well, is to remove all of the bad online experiences until only the good ones remain. And so everything I'm looking at is from that angle. And I just think it's a horrible consumer experience, and that's really where my point is coming from.
It is, and I agree, and I've just gotten myself in a lot of trouble because I'll give you a case study here real quick. Not a case study, but an example. We have a client who has a one product store. When their product is at a certain price point, it sells sporadically. When we get it down to the price point that people are okay at buying, it sells like crazy. So what the kind of strategies that we've been using is that it's kind of changed, but we would keep it at full price on the website and then give them an incentive to sign up for the email with a discount, as you said. Now, in that case, there's literally one product. And so, the lifetime value of a customer is almost made on the first sale, or it is.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, it's going to be different than if you have 50 products. So that's all I'm saying. I just want to point that out because I do know we have listeners that have one product. And in that scenario, it may just be a little bit different. So I just want to
totally. Again, situational, right? And I think that's a great example of a situation where, it's not one size fits all.
Exactly. Okay, so I derailed you. We got 2 minutes here. So give me some things that that's number one, right? You said the pop-up. I think that's a really good thing to test. I think some segments get really annoyed, and so maybe there are some like the older population will hate the pop-up. Maybe the younger generation is a little bit more immune to it. But what other things would you say? Give me like a couple more things.
High level auto rotating banners.
Right. Banners nobody's on your site long enough to see them, right?
Well, okay, let's just talk about this. I think in addition to that, the reality is the University of Notre Dame did a bunch of research on auto rotating banners. And what they found was vast majority of people see the second banner, right? Because by the time the page loads, the second one's already swung. The first is gone and you're onto the second image. And then beyond that, it's like 1/100% click on the third, fourth, fifth banners. And so the problem is it's just not a good engagement model. And you're trying to communicate so many messages. Look, I mean, the reality is there's a lot of hands in the cookie jar, if you will, on an e-com site. Marketing has a ton of messages that they want to communicate, and they usually jam all those on there at once. And the best way to do that, auto rotating banner, because you can have 3 or 4 different products and a new product launch and a promotion and everything else crammed into this one area of the screen. The problem is that it really is annoying for consumers. They start reading something and then it moves over off the screen on them. They go to click on it. And then the worst is when buttons aren't even in the same location. So then you're trying to move your mouse to go click on something, it moves by, and then you got to find the button for the next one. And it's not a good user experience. So again, it's something where, if you did that in a retail store in physical life where you had a product that somebody wanted and it just kept moving by you, it would be the worst experience ever, right? That's why we don't see it. But yet we still do it online.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from because it is kind of silly. I mean, yeah. I don't stay on long enough. I know you got to run here, man. Do you have something else off the top of your head before I have you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, the only other one is it's become kind of a big fire across all the e-com sites we've seen is the little tout that slides up out of the bottom corner that says that so-and-so just purchased this item. Or a visitor from Texas purchased, X item.
Oh my God, it's so fake.
It generally they are fake. Second of all, consumers know that. Third of all, it's just nobody really cares what someone else purchased. Quite honestly, that's not social proof. Social proof, as you said, is when somebody leaves a testimonial or somebody says something good about a product or a product review. Those are important. To know that somebody actually just bought something doesn't make me want to buy it more. And we've done a ton of testing on that, and I can tell you that they're just ineffective, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, John. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Sure, it's at thegood.com, I'm guessing.
yeah, thegood.com is a great place to find all of our research and insight articles and anything you want to know about conversion optimization. And if you had any complaints about pop-ups or anything else you want to talk about with me personally, feel free to just shoot me an email. It's just Jon, Jon, at thegood.com, and there's no H in John.
And John, we can probably talk about this over and over. So maybe sometime down the line, we can get you back on and kind of go over some of the things that we missed. Like I said, I used to do this as well. And there's a whole bunch of things I'd like to talk about. We just got a little screwy with this technology nonsense, but
hey, yeah, I would love to. And I'm sure Kevin is passionate about pop-ups as well and would love to join that conversation so we can get to that point. But would love to come back on. And as I said, there are a lot of this stuff we could dive into and carry on for quite some time. So
one last thing, John, tell me how you feel about this. I tell our clients all the time, like, I have no emotional attachment to anything. I'm just trying to make you, money and make you successful. I'm sure you would agree with that, right? You can't get emotionally attached to these things. You have to just read the data, see what it's telling you, and move the hell on.
Data-backed decisions, and that's the hardest part for brands, and that's often why brands hire folks like you and us, right? It's because they can't make those. They're too emotionally close to it to make that decision themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. John, thanks a lot, man. I know we had some trouble here, but I think it's good. I think this is great. I mean, being on the other side of this, I like to hear what other people have to say. And I think our audience has learned a lot. And I think there's a lot of different perspective in what you're saying. You're clearly on the West Coast because you know all the right words to say. And I'm clearly not, because I'm a little less polished than you are with the terminology. But I think everybody here is going to enjoy this. And we really thank you. I'll say thank you for Kevin, and we'll keep in touch with you, man. And we'll let you know we'll let you know when it's live, so you can go check it out. We're gonna have it edited, and
I look forward to it.
All right, man.
And we're always happy to help promote. So definitely send that over when you get to that point, and our team here will help it promote it on all of our channels. So thanks for having me.
No,
and
awesome,
Kevin, it was hopefully, I don't know if he's still around, but if he is, it was great to meet you briefly, and hopefully we can continue the conversation at some point down the line. Thank you.
I'm here. Am I still delayed?
Man. Thanks, Sean. No, now you're good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just in time.
That's weird.
Hey, you guys did really. You know what you guys should do? You guys should get together and do a podcast, like make a new podcast for just the two of you. I think it went really well.
Good.
Kevin's bowing out now, huh? That's kind of like, when you script the laundry so you don't have to do it anymore. Maybe that's
yeah, exactly. That was awesome, John. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
You got it, man.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was an interesting conversation, Jason. Were you okay? I was glad to hear that you could manage without me. So I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, sure. This was, right up my alley, man, because, I used to be a conversion optimization specialist. I've always felt like it kind of died a little bit, but clearly after speaking with John, he has a thriving agency, and, he told us he had like 20 employees. I mean, they're pretty large. That's pretty big. We got to 10 and it was too much.
Yeah. And because of that, I thought it was a really good conversation with the two of you, because I know how, passionate you are about that kind of thing as well. So.
Yeah. I didn't agree with every single thing that he said. But that's the beauty of this. So.
When I was listening and I heard him talk about the pop-up on the website and how he kind of didn't like that, I was like, oh, this should be interesting. Let's see where this goes.
Well,
he does make some really good points about it, and it's not like he's wrong.
No, but every situation, and that's just, I've said things on this podcast, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just said something that I just completely, like I said something, then I would go do something for ourselves. I'm like, oh shit, So, I just think we have to be careful, because and when I say careful, I mean, like I got to be careful, because every situation I'm learning, there's just different things that could affect it, right? If you have one product if you have 50 products, you want to try to get them to buy no matter what, that one product.
Well, I like how he really was when you ask him like, what can people do? He really swayed to the side of like, you gotta try different things. Every situation is different. So that's what I really like. There wasn't a defined list of things that you have to do. It always depends. So I thought that was really good. It's a great interview. Good guy too.
Yeah.
Um,
Lots of technical issues, and he stuck with us.
Yeah. We showed up late, and then I had to shut the Zoom down. I had to start it back up again because I thought that would work. And
We lost video.
It was a mess. But I hope you guys were able to enjoy that. So, all right, before we go, let's talk about Klaviyo for a minute. You got to go to klaviyo.com/uncensored. They are the #1 growth marketing platform specifically designed for e-commerce, and they have a startup plan up to 250, not a startup plan, but up to 250 subscribers, and gives you access to everything. Go check them out. klaviyo.com/uncensored, klaviyo.com/uncensored. And then start evaluating some of your shipping costs and fulfillment centers, because now's the time where you could, take this time. Everybody's home. Start looking at your numbers. Rakuten Super Logistics has a really cool promotion where they'll have a look at all your costs, all your numbers, and they guarantee that they will beat them, or they'll write you a check for $500. That's it. So go over to ecommerceuncensored.com/RSL and use promo code uncensored when you're filling out your little form there. You all good, Jay?
All good.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much. This has been episode 168. As always, you could check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.